Environment, Climate, and Legacy Committee. I'll call the committee to order. Let the record show that it's April 9th, and the time is 3:06 or 07, approximately that. And August 9th, 2026. We have two bill on our agenda, but before we go into that and begin having presentation about our special guests, the zoo, we also have an even more special guest here today, and I'd like to put this on record too, record this, because the enjoyment is not just for us only, in near position, but also for folks who are watching from remote as well. So I saw that our special guest is a reptiles, and I'm always curious. There's a phrase, in American phrase that black and yellow, red and yellow, or black and I don't know how it is, black and yellow. I saw a little black and yellow there, but are we to fear? And so I pass this time to our zoo expert staff of the Minnesota Zoo to talk a little bit about the giant there, where it's from, what its diet, and why it's hanging on a tree. And so we'll give you like a couple of minutes talking about it before we go to Director Frawley to talk about the Minnesota Zoo. Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, committee. I'm Alex Casa, one of the Minnesota Zoo naturalists for our master team. And I'm Tara McCormick. And the guest of honor is our Hog Island boa constrictor. So Hog Island, because that's where they're from, in the Hog Islands. They are tropical rainforest islands of like Honduras and Nicaragua. And good news is we're here to keep you and the snake safe. So she is not venomous. So we don't have to worry about that red and yellow, Pillow, red and black, okay, Jack. Yeah, that's what we're getting down. She does have these beautiful colorations, and that's what Hog Island boas are really known for, is that beautiful coloration pattern, what you're seeing. They kind of have a sandy pink color to them, which is a little bit different in the snake reptile world, right? Now, she is special in that tree because they naturally, where they live, spend their time in trees. All snakes are capable of climbing. Not all of them spend their time up in the trees, where she does keep most of her time up in the trees. It's a great way to camouflage. Imagine if this tree had leaves on it, you wouldn't even see her just resting. And this is what snakes do. You're like, it's not moving very much. This is what they do because they don't eat every day. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe a couple of snacks, whereas a snake in general, they might eat once every week, maybe once every 2 weeks. If the meal was really big, it might be once a month, right? So they just like to save their energy like this, and that's where snakes right here in Minnesota, same idea. They just kind of wait it out. Snakes are really helpful, and that's what we at the zoo, as in our master department, and at the zoo, talking about the value of all these animals, whether it's a tropical animal and one right here in Minnesota that you're going to see, that they're really great rodent control. She, however, might eat some small rodents. There aren't a lot of large mammals on the Hog Islands where they're from. So this one, because it spends its time in the tree, has specialized hunting in the tree. This is what they do. They wait it out, and maybe they're hungry. Bird comes by, and nature is their drive-through service. So that bird flies through, they grab it, and then that's what they're going to eat. They are a constrictor snake, so they will squeeze their food, and that helps them so that they can survive and eat. So she is a great ambassador because a lot of times we have this fear about snakes, right? And we don't want to get too close to them. They move a little bit differently. They're not as understood as, or maybe as cuddly looking as some of our mammals when you come to the zoo that you see, or our majestic birds that are flying around. But these guys are just as important out there in keeping nature naturally in balance by eating those animals that we would call pests sometimes, right? And well, as really a cool cold-blooded critter that you get to see up close, right? In a nice, safe way. Because really, in nature, the only place you're going to find this snake is in the Hog Islands. So unless we're taking a trip down south, you're going to miss out on a really neat species like this. Now, they are usually typically about a 5-6 foot snake, so about my size for a snake. This gal here is just about 8 feet long. Yes, 8 feet from head to tip of that tail. Solid muscle. And it's great for us to have her on the tree. She's not only showing her natural ability of how she just rests in the branches, but it supports all of her body. You know, depending on a snake, they might have anywhere from 100 to 400 little vertebrae pieces. This is the best way for her to kind of choose and do what she wants to do, which is great. What we want to do at the zoo is show animals, giving them choice and control over things, but also making sure we're supporting all those little tiny bones and all that muscle in that body is just covered with those beautiful scales. So thank you so much for this opportunity to meet Harley, our Hog Island boa constrictor.
Well, thank you very much for bringing Harley here, and for folks at home and also members here, if you want to take your kid or yourself to the Minnesota Zoo, Harley will still be there, right? We'll be there every day, and you can take, I know we had, some of us had opportunity to take close-up picture, and I think I captured a very good one, but you can take your kid there for even closer shot picture too of Harley. And thank you both. Do state your name for the record, both of you up here.
I'm Alex Tassa.
And I'm Taryn McDermott.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, into our business of the day. We're going to hear a presentation of the governor's supplement budget recommendation from Minnesota Zoo, and following that, we'll hear from DNR on the governor's supplement budget as well as MPCA. And so let's start with Minnesota Zoo, and welcome Director Frawley for being here. And you have the floor, the committee.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, committee members, thank you for the time today, and thank you for entertaining and letting us bring one of our amazing animals for viewing. My name is John Frawley, director of the zoo. A little bit about the zoo, a reminder about the zoo. We are a state zoo. We recently completed a new impact statement with the University of Minnesota. The zoo's heading over $320 million as far as economic impact. We're one of the top attractions in Minnesota, so the zoo is doing really well, hitting great attendance and use. We are a unique state agency. Right now, we receive about 36% of our funding from the state, and the rest we need to be a Main Street business running the gate, operations, food, beverage, events. So we do roll up our sleeves and have a good business model. We're one of the largest environmental educators in the state, and that's also growing, reaching all 87 counties. We have a great reputation. We're an AZA accredited zoo nationally. So we are grateful for the governor's recommendation for supplemental support of $3.8 million. This request aligns with our request from last session, 3.8. We did not receive that full request, and so working with MMB and the governor's office, we're back requesting this as a one-time funding request that will get us through this biennium. And then we'll come back to next session and build a case. The zoo does have an ongoing structural operational deficit that we'd like to address next session overall. The good news is, like I said, the zoo right now is 36%, and we try to raise most of the money ourselves. We have been working hard with cost containment. In the last couple of years, we've reduced the operating budget by $4.5 million. The zoo currently has over 20 positions vacant right now and growing, so that's a concern to me. We have had to eliminate guest experiences such as our off-site Zoomobile programs. And a lot of people ask me about raising prices. We want to keep the zoo accessible, especially right now when times are tough throughout Minnesota. But our pricing, I think, is at the top of it. It's the level it should be for a state agency. We also get questions about, could our budget be solved by our foundation? Our foundation does great work. We've raised millions of dollars of capital for the zoo, but it's pretty tough to raise general operating from donors. So that's not something we can rely on. The three drivers of the challenge is workforce challenges, our aging campus, and the uniqueness of being a zoo. As far as the workforce challenges, we worked to show MMB and others that as we compare to other zoos around the country, we're one of the largest zoos in the country, almost 500 acres, but we have one of the lowest staffing level of any zoo. So we're understaffed right now, and that's putting pressure, tremendous pressure on our workforce. On top of that, we're not the new zoo anymore. So not only are we understaffed, the facility is in poor condition. We're rated one of the worst facility condition ratings of all state agencies. A third of our structures are in poor or crisis condition. So that's alarming. If you put that together with low staffing, both of those kind of add up to safety issues for human and animals. Right now, the zoo, a sad report, with our employees, the guests are safe, but with our employees, our incidence rates are towards the top of all state agencies. And when you look at those incidences and things that happen at the zoo, we do big investigations, and the root cause is what we're after. The root causes are tracking back to low staffing levels, people rushing, taking on too much in their days and duties. And parallel to that, they're having equipment issues while they're understaffed. And so obviously as a director, that's important for me to bring that forward. And that is something that this request will help stabilize. On top of all of that, we are a zoo. We're, like I said, a unique state agency where we have other impacts to operations. This last year, to give an example, the zoo, which really requires people to come out to us and see us on site, had 32 days of excessive rain. We had 13 days of record-breaking heat. The new one this year for us is 22 days of air quality concerns where people were asked or suggested not to go outside, and major highway construction. So between the workforces, you know, the infrastructure and the unique challenges, it is a tough operating environment for the zoo. So with that, Mr. Chair and committee members, I appreciate the chance to put this request in front of you, and we'll open for any questions.
Any question from Senator and Justice Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director, if you could help me remember, what's your criteria for the animals that are at the Minnesota Zoo?
Director Fleury?
Mr. Chair, committee members.
Well, isn't it like they have to be able, they're from this climate or something? I just can't remember what it is. I mean, those snakes
Yes.
are not in Minnesota, but
Right.
there must be some other criteria.
Yes.
Dr. Fleury?
Mr. Chair, committee members, it's a great question. The zoo actually has animals from all over the world, and we are able to, the outside animals obviously are from habitats and regions that are similar to Minnesota. So you see a lot of the animals that are outside and have access to the environment, they're from similar environments around the world. But we also have controlled life support systems like our tropics, simulates tropical environments, so which allows us to have a whole bunch of new animals from all over the world that wouldn't survive the Minnesota winters. So that really is a good question that ties into the infrastructure. When we have the infrastructure failing, our infrastructure is like a hospital, it's life support systems. So our whole tropics building is not just heat, it's where people could, if it goes off, people can leave. Our whole tropics building is a life support system because we have over 5,000 animals at the zoo. That's why bringing forward these infrastructure concerns are important because we do have animals from all over the world and they do require life support. And some of it's ocean, you know, some of it's water or different temperature of water for sharks and such. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other question or comments? Okay, it looks like we're good. Thank you for presenting the governor's supplemental budget recommendation.
Thank you.
So I'd like to call Colonel Smith and Mr. John Water. Okay, yes. To present the supplemental budget recommendation on Minnesota DNR. Records show that Senator Hauschild is also online. We do have quorum as well. We have quorum right off the get-go. So anytime you two are ready, Colonel Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we get the PowerPoint slide put up here, I'll introduce myself. Colonel Rodman Smith, Director of Enforcement at the Department of Natural Resources. Mr. Chair, members, there's two items in the governor's supplemental budget request for DNR, and I'll cover the first one, and Mr. Waters can cover the second one. So the first one is a shortfall around costs for law enforcement responses that conservation officers were involved in. So conservation officers are licensed peace officers in the state of Minnesota, which means we carry the same authority and responsibilities as all licensed peace officers in the state. And as you may be aware, there is a shortage of law enforcement officers across the state, which does precipitate the need to have some more mutual aid requests that come to the state to help fill needs for local communities. And typically when a mutual aid request comes to the state, it goes to the State Patrol first. If they cannot meet that request and they need more staffing, they will come to the DNR, and we will assist with our conservation officers. And so in this request, this fiscal year, some of the activities that this would cover that we assisted in mutual aid with, where after the tragic shootings at Annunciation School, Minneapolis PD did reach out, and you may have seen on the news, they wanted extra patrols around schools for the first couple weeks of schools. We assisted our partner State Patrol in filling that request. We did a number of mutual aid requests in the month of January around Operation Metro Surge, helping local communities who needed more law enforcement resources around some of those issues. And then most recently, we assisted State Patrol and St. Paul PD in the large No Kings rally that was held here in the Capitol grounds, where over 100,000 people were in attendance. And then lastly, included in this cost is some training. And so the overall costs include officer payroll, meals, lodging, and supplies, which constitutes that $1.5 million from all these activities. As you know, some of this work isn't typical for any law enforcement agency. It's unfortunately becoming more common in the world we live in today. And no one agency has the amount of staffing resources to handle some of these challenges in large-scale events. And today, now more than ever, law enforcement must rely on that time-tested mutual aid process to meet those staffing needs. And as conservation officers, we stand ready to assist those local agencies and the people in those communities that they serve when mutual aid is requested.
Mr. Chair, my name is John Waters. I'm the Government Relations Unit Supervisor for the DNR. And just wanted to touch briefly on the lands bill part of our supplemental budget. It was heard in this committee. Senate File 4228 is the policy version of this. We dual track it as a budget option because there are some anticipated revenues from this land sales. So for this year, we are anticipating $474,000 of anticipated revenue. The first is from Becker County public land sale, estimated at about $225,000 based on the current county assessed value. That is for 4.3 acres. And the other provision is for Mille Lacs County to be sold to the federally recognized Indian tribe at $251,000 for 19.2 acres.
Thank you. Any question from members? Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it looks like with the 474, you're a third of the way there, almost. So what is there that's preventing you from taking the money from the land sales to help out with the other part of the budget request?
Mr. Water.
Mr. Chair, Senator Green, those land sales are deposited into the Natural Resources Land Acquisition Account. They have a dedicated purpose that cannot be used for this.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Green.
So what you're telling me is that you're here recommending that we put some provisions in the law to allow you to shift that from one account to the other. I might be able to help you out with that. You got a lot of land out there, and this year we're losing another $35,000 in the legacy bill if that goes through. That I would think that maybe that money's better spent somewhere else. The other question then is with the 1.5 million that was taken out for the conservation officers to help out with public safety, were the hours that they put in any crossover with the hours that they would have already been putting in somewhere else, or was this all overtime or special appropriation?
Mr. Chair, Senator Green, it's a mix of both. So there would have been some time that normally would have been spent working, but there was a lot of overtime that was also associated with these call-outs. And so we don't spend any dedicated dollars on this type of work, so game and fish money or snowmobile account money. It's our general fund appropriation that we do spend on this, that type of work. We do have about 10%-ish of our overall appropriation for our operating expenses is general fund, but that money is used for things that aren't covered by a dedicated account, like wetland violations, aquatic invasive species work, shoreline work, whatnot. And so, and then also what we do with our general fund is, for example, I was just informed that the last payroll period that we had, we did go over on the number of hours for snowmobile, and so the money that was appropriated from the snowmobile account isn't going to cover the activities that we had around snowmobiles this year, and so we supplement that work with our general fund. And so it's a little bit of mix of both for a long answer to your short question.
Okay. Any other questions? Senator Jolkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Smith, does the DNR have you in the past? So you've got two of these. One of these I look at as regular law enforcement thing. The Annunciation shooting, that seems to be a normal response. But the other two are politically motivated events that occurred by left-wing organizations in this state that organized and propelled these large events to happen. Have you done mutual aid for those types of events in the past, or is this new?
Colonel Smith.
Mr. Chair, so we have assisted State Patrol on a number of different events at the state capitol grounds from a number of different groups that come to exercise their First Amendment right here on the state capitol grounds. And so I'm not totally up to speed on how those permits are issued and by the Department of Admin and the State Patrol. I just know that when we're asked to come and help, we'll come and help. And so we have had supplemental appropriations in the past a number of times, especially after the events after the shooting of George, or the killing of George Floyd several years ago. And so this is something that we've had in the past, is to get supplemental budget appropriations to cover the costs when we're doing something that's outside the normal bounds of what we do.
Follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for that. Members, Mr. Chair, when we have these huge political events that are put together, the event of the last several months around Metro Surge, millions of dollars came in from left-wing groups to organize and propel and develop the signal chat groups that largely caused the problem. And the No Kings rally, hundreds of thousands of dollars from left-wing groups that did this. I would suggest, Mr. Chair, instead of forcing the taxpayers of Minnesota to pay for these huge political activities that were, at least one of them was very disrupted, and actually 2 people died because of that activity, that we suggest the governor to look to his political allies to pay for this, because they are the ones that brought these activities forward. The taxpayers in Minnesota, I don't think, should be paying for this. Mr. Smith, I applaud you and your colleagues for doing what you're asked to do and going out to help keep the public safe. But the question is around who pays for it. And I think the governor needs to go back to the well and maybe go to some of his political places to find that money, instead of dragging it out of the taxpayers of Minnesota, or simply trying to work and keep their families going. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Jolkowski. And I'm not defending the governor, but I'm just explaining the sequence of event. I think the rally happened after the killing of the 2 individuals, and so just so that the statement, the sequence is right, is not that the event, the rally happened and 2 individuals was killed. I just want to make that clear of what you were saying earlier. Am I right on that?
No, you're not, Mr. Chair. As a matter of fact, the two individuals were part of the signal chat groups, and because of that activity, they died.
But then-
And actually, the activity happened before started to happen before they died.
But they're not part of the parade that lead them to.
I understand
It
both of them.
It sounded like you were saying that the rally is a cause of happening at the same day that lead them to the death of two individuals.
So, Mr. Chair, the second individual that died he reported into the signal chat group that he was 15 minutes away from the point at which he died, which he was going to.
Mr. Chair, is this relevant?
No, it's not relevant. I just want to make a little point clarification. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just want to say that the DNR or the let me see what's the right the DNR enforcement officer or conservation officer are more of a reserve. And we do have here in the past where RNC was held in St. Paul, and I don't know whether you will call, but there will, if it need to, the conservation officer or DNR officer will be called to that as a reserve base. So it's not that they're gonna, every time when they have rally here, we're gonna call on them as a first responder. And I know that there's parade here where people carry firearms. I don't know whether the DNR is called, but in cases if crowd control is needed, I'm sure at some point our reserve group, which is the conservation officer, will be called to that task. So I'm not defending the governor, but I'm just want to explain, and if I think I'm right in explaining as well. So, and thank you, Senator Ann Johnson-Stewart. That's not the point here. Thank you, Senator Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I have a question about the mutual aid agreements that, in this case, State Patrol, but what comes to mind is when we fight fires on the, especially when it comes to federal fires or things like that, when we have mutual aid agreements, oftentimes the agreement also has some financial, stipulations within it, and those come to mind because I know the feds pays the state to do that. We've been involved with that for years, so I'm curious as to when it's agency to agency within the state, does that financial aspect not come into it? I mean, if DPS is requesting your assistance, is it just kind of hand in hand where it's state agency to state agency, so we don't want to talk about dollars, so you're on the hook for it now, or if you get my meaning?
Mr. Chair and Senator Lang. So, there's mutual aid requests can come in a lot of different forms. And so, for example, we do sign a joint powers agreement with the Minnesota State Fair Police to provide some supplemental activity during the state fair. In that agreement, there's an hourly rate, and we're reimbursed the hourly rate for every officer, mileage, meals, every single thing, every cost that's associated with that. And that's something that's done ahead of time. So, some of the mutual aid things that the 1.5 covers are those things that aren't pre-planned, really, that kind of come up. And a lot of times, most of the time, those costs aren't reimbursed to any of the agencies. And so I do know that State Patrol also probably has a supplemental budget request in the governor's budget to cover some of their costs associated with a lot of the same things that are in our request in the supplemental budget.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And what the thought that keeps coming to my mind is emergency management.
Yep.
Emergency management funds that, there is probably only so much pre-planning you can do as an agency for when it comes to whatever natural disaster or political event or whatever it may be. However, the funds do exist in emergency management, and I don't know, maybe as a state, I think that would fall within the guidelines of that, where if in the future if things like this happen, we don't have to go trying to reimburse people and or agencies for that matter, and especially when we're talking about officers that quite possibly couldn't be paid, or you're running in the red. That's an issue. So I don't know what the answer to that looks like in the Environment Committee, but
All right, any members? We're good. Thank you for your testimony and presentation on the governor's supplemental budget recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Next, I'll call the MPCA to talk about the governor's supplement budget. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I am just getting the slideshow going. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. For the record, my name is Tom Johnson, Director of Government Relations and External Affairs for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I have a couple items to walk through with you today. I'll keep it very brief on batteries and e-waste today as the first items because I know there's a separate bill coming later. But just to note for the governor's budget, both the battery stewardship program and the electronic product stewardship program are net neutral policy items. With the batteries proposal, again, you'll be hearing more about that. E-waste is something that is still important to the administration, something we'd like to continue to work on. However, at this time, as we get closer to our third deadline here, there's still some major items that we're working out with stakeholders, so it's not quite ready to bring to you in its final form. But batteries is something we've been working very hard with, and I think we're quite close with everybody. So excited to have that piece of it coming forward today. Moving on to air compliance monitoring equipment. This is a small but important ask for the agency. It's $50,000 a year from the environmental fund. So no impact to the general fund. This appropriation is a cost for ongoing costs associated with already purchased equipment. So things like software licenses and calibration and maintenance, these are items that previously the agency has absorbed. However, as the legislature has asked us to increase the number of monitoring sites, we have gotten to the point where these costs are, again, even if $50,000 is a small amount, it ends up being a third of an FTE or so, and that becomes pretty significant and adds up over time. It is no longer really absorbable. So that's the importance of this piece. And then the final item in the governor's recommendations for the MPCA is really a package of emergency response technical fixes, one of which has a potential savings to the remediation fund of about $200,000 per year. The major issue that we're facing that by closing would create additional cost recovery is for saddle tanks in particular. As you might imagine, it's already covered under state statute when you are transporting large amounts of petroleum or a hazardous substance. If there's a spill of what's in the tanker itself, that is very clearly covered. You are responsible for that spill. However, a lot of these large transporters, especially long-range trucks, have additional saddle tanks that hold large amounts of fuel for long trips. And if those are punctured during an accident, it's not clear who is responsible for that cleanup. So by fixing some of those technical areas and making it clear in law, the agency, instead of the parties that are involved in the accident being tied up in all sorts of insurance claims and whatnot for years, we can clearly cost recover from whoever is the responsible party in that instance, like is intended under law. And then there are some smaller items within this package that are more so clarifying what is considered a drill versus a a walkthrough, or, those are more so just creating consistency in the statute. And that is a wrap on the governor's recommendations for the MPCA. Happy to stand for questions.
Member, any questions? Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you have a bill, or do we already have in our possession some bill that you've got? You say there's some smaller items, but I don't see them on your bullet points. So is there something out there that I can get a hold of and read?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think the jackets have either been sent to you, Mr. Chair, recently, or should be coming in from the governor's office, so that the bill should be introduced soon, Senator Green. However, also happy to send you the specific revisor language that we have that's not yet introduced, if you want just those sections.
Senator Green.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, if the bill is dropped and I can get a copy of it, because I've been looking for your bill and haven't seen anything. As far as absorbing some of the cost, you talk about the 50,000, 100,000, but then you're saving 200,000. Is there a way, let's just suppose for a minute that we don't do a supplemental budget this year. So what happens then? And also, I think that part of I'll just ask it now so we can move on. I know we're going to be short on time on the other bill, I believe. But when you're talking about the battery and the bill that we're going to be hearing, also the electronic electronic part of that, you're looking at a wash in that. So you're intending to put fees on producers of these elements. So how do you reach these numbers? And I maybe could wait for this when the bill comes out on that. In fact, I'll do that. You'll be here for the bill anyway, so I'll worry about that when the bill comes up. But the 50,000 this year, 100,000 next year, along with the 200,000 in savings, is there any way to cross over and absorb those costs without having to put that in a budget?
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair and Senator Green, great question. I think these are from separate funds, so it does become challenging to, they don't necessarily interact with each other. The environmental fund, I think if we're not able to get this appropriation, again, it's a small amount, but it will add up over time. So I'm sure we'll, come back to the legislature, and if we have to absorb it for another year, that will, again, probably impact, we may have to hold a vacancy or something, to cover the shortfall that's created by maintenance or whatnot. The cost savings for the remediation fund item, this is an estimate. And, I think these will continue to happen. Several happen every year. And so I think we would continue to try to muddle through as we can, but trying to cost recover, but may or may not be able to do so.
Mr. Chair, thank you. And this is a question that I have for all the agencies, but you're here, so we're going to get you today.
Sure.
How many FTEs do you have right now? Because it seems to me that you're talking like a half of an FTE for a short time. It seems almost unfathomable that you can't pick this up. So how many FTEs does MPCA have now?
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair, and this is off the top of my head, Senator, but I believe it's around 1,000 FTEs at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. They are siloed into specific appropriations from the legislature, so it's not as though we can pick up one. It's not a direct line over. For example, somebody who works on air monitoring is funded by specific accounts and appropriations within the environmental fund, maybe not accounts, but specific appropriations and program costs. And those are very deliberately siloed out by program. So it's difficult to say, out of the 1,000, transfer one over to another kind of a thing. So it might be a much smaller number of FTE for a specific program, and a half of an FTE might be a big deal for that specific program.
Mr. Chair, thanks. And I know the situation on the FTEs and the dedicated funds, and that somehow has to change. Because you could look at it in your agency and say, well, we can't cross this over because it's a fund. But the people who are paying this money are looking at the whole picture. And you got 1,000 people there. And what you're kind of saying here is that you can't spare one for part-time to do one thing. So something has to be worked out there. And then the other thing that I have to ask, I know that you count your FTEs by the hours, probably not specifically, but the hours they put in, the time they put in. So do you have any part-time employees in the MPCA or even a volunteer staff? I know sometimes in the other agencies, they will train volunteers to do work for them. So is the 1,000 your total, or do you have other assets there that you're not including in that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Senator Green, I would have to check to see if it's a part of the total. That's a good question, but we certainly do have seasonal employees that do field work, and we also have student workers and a whole volunteer monitoring program. So we do utilize all of those tools to help do the work of the agency. But yeah, we have seasonal employees that are specifically out doing stream monitoring and whatnot, and then student workers and volunteers.
Just a comment. I'd appreciate getting that information. I'd like to have that. And then on a little bit of a side note, but dealing with the MPCA, I'm going to need some help going through your charts, because I've been trying to go through your charts on the impacts to water, because you're not talking about pollution anymore. You're talking about impacts, which I said if someone spits in a stream, it could be an impact. And it's just been like finding hen's teeth trying to figure out those graphs and charts that are there. So hopefully we can make those a little easier. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members? All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
All right, next is the our climatic event of this this committee. Looks like Senator Kupec, welcome. Our prime time. And Senator Kupec will be talking about Senate File 1690. It's a stewardship program on battery recycling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nice to be back here. We've had this bill here previously, and it's gone to its other places and has gotten changed a little stripped down. When we were first here with you last, it also included electronic waste. When we were in the Commerce Committee, we took that part out, and we've focused on the battery part, because that is the area where we have come to the most agreement on. So we were just looking at the batteries here. So as you know, batteries are a growing, evolving part of our day-to-day lives, providing energy for everything from powering flashlights to powering your home. It's great technology, and it's only becoming more important. At the same time, batteries contain valuable materials that we'd like to extract, and toxins that we do not want to get into our waste stream. However, today our law has not kept pace with modern battery technology. That gap is most clearly seen in the increasing fire risk associated with batteries, impacting businesses, public infrastructures, and families across the state. So the Senate file here will build on Minnesota's existing leadership in establishing a modern statewide battery stewardship program where producers fund and manage the system to ensure safe collection and recycling. Just want to highlight a couple of things. The proposal is intentional nationally focused, yet does not address embedded batteries or broader electronic waste. We did not think we were at a place where we could do embedded batteries, so we are only looking at loose batteries or batteries that can easily be taken out, and it's pretty prescriptive about what we're talking about easily be taken out. We're starting with those loose ones because that's where the most agreement is. Second, this proposal reflects significant collaboration. Local governments, private sector collectors, and industry have all made compromise to move forward on a workable system. While you'll hear about national models, Minnesota already had a strong foundation, and this builds on that rather than replacing it. So with that, Mr. Chair and committee, I'd like to turn it over to testifiers.
Okay, it looks like we have a few lined up here. Mr. Kirk Kudelka will start off from MPCA, and then followed by Josh Torr, Policy Manager of Eureka, and Steve Smith, Meeker County Commissioner. Once the seat is open. Go anytime, Assistant Commissioner Kudelka.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Kirk Kudelka. I'm Assistant Commissioner with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Others will testify more on the safety risk, the toxicity, the waste stream of batteries, but I just want to draw attention to a couple other items then. One is the legislature recently created the Critical Materials Recovery and Advisory Task Force. This was something that was created and reports sent to the legislature this fall. I just want to draw attention to it because of the valuable materials that are located in many of the products we use, whether it's electronics and batteries and the like. The recommendation from the task force wanted us to focus on consumer recycling, including recommendations on public education and awareness campaigns, making drop-offs easy, creating a cost share program that makes it free for consumers to recycle containing critical materials, consumer labeling, and embedding these principles into product stewardship policies. That's what this bill does. It provides those services and educational opportunities to make sure that we're capturing these valuable materials and preventing them going into a landfill where they're lost forever. I just want to highlight a couple other pieces here too. I know the idea of a consumer having to bring this someplace to recycle could be seen as an extra trip. This is already required under state law because of various reasons, including the fire safety risks that we're going to talk about here. Currently, rechargeable batteries today must be taken to another location. They cannot be disposed of in a waste energy facility or a landfill. And so this, what it does is this provides a mechanism for those places to exist and covers the costs that the counties will talk about that they're right now covering instead of others. And then finally, this looks to create a program to build efficiencies and through economy of scale to reduce the costs of the overall program versus having individual entities trying to figure this out themselves. We create larger partnerships where we may have a truck that visits a number of locations at the same time to reduce costs by having a product stewardship organization organize that versus each one setting up that truck and driving up costs. So, Mr. Chair and committee members, I appreciate the time, and I will turn it over back to you and available for questions later.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's call on Mr. Torr, and then if Mr. Schmidt can come ready to maybe once the seat is open. So go ahead, Mr. Torr.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee, and Senator Kupec for your leadership on this issue. My name is Joshua Torr, and I'm the policy manager at Eureka Recycling, which is a founding member of the Minnesota Zero Waste Coalition. Eureka is one of the largest recyclers in Minnesota. We sort over 100,000 tons of mostly residential recycling each year into 15 commodities that are sent to manufacturers here in Minnesota, as well as across the region. Recyclers like us are a critical part of our domestic manufacturing supply chain. However, batteries placed in recycling carts are threatening our operations, our team members, and our communities. At Eureka, we don't even like to say the word fire. We call them thermal events, or F words. There was an F word in the main sort house, a thermal event on the tip floor. It's our superstitious attempt to prevent more of them, but it's not working. We've experienced as many as 20 fires a year, sometimes 1 or 2 a week. These toxic fires spread quickly through highly flammable paper and plastic, and when they happen in our trucks, what we call a hot load, our drivers have to immediately dump burning material in the safest place they can find, sometimes a residential street. This has led to injuries in the past, including third-degree burns. As a result of increased batteries in the waste stream, our insurance costs have also skyrocketed, which again makes it tough for us to stay in business. In recent years, our insurance has increased over tenfold, and coverage is becoming harder to secure. In addition to insurance costs, we are also spending money on replacing and repairing equipment, fire rovers, staff training, and more. Without action, this problem will continue to threaten Minnesota's recycling system, our domestic supply chain, and the workers who keep it running. It is our hope that you advance SF 1690 this year and look to address electronics recycling, which would include embedded batteries in future years. I'd also welcome you all to Eureka's material recovery facility for a tour and see how we get things done. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call Ms. Amber Backhouse from National Waste Recycling Association of Minnesota. If you're here, yes, you are. So online will be Ms. Ashley Seward. She will come right after Ms. Backhouse. Welcome.
Switching up, I apologize. I thought there was somebody before me here. So
That's all right.
I am Amber Backus with United Strategies here on behalf of the National Waste and Recycling Association Minnesota chapter and its member companies, which handle the collection, sorting, recycling, and disposal of residential and commercial waste in Minnesota. As NWRA shared with you last session when the bill was before you, the association is fully supportive of getting problematic materials such as lithium-ion batteries out of the waste stream. Improper disposal of them poses a significant and potentially deadly risk to member company employees, trucks, and facilities. And in 2018, one of our members experienced a battery fire at their $20 million transfer facility, resulting in a catastrophic loss. Given that lithium-ion battery use is expected to increase sixfold by 2030, it is crucial for Minnesota to establish a system for the proper collection and handling of small to medium portable batteries. NWRA is grateful to the MPCA, AMC, and Eureka for getting this conversation started and hosting stakeholder meetings over the interim to build consensus about what a battery stewardship program should look like. And while Senate File 1960 reflects most of those principles, 1690 reflects most of those principles, I'd be remiss if we didn't flag a couple of areas of concern that we hope can be addressed as the bill moves forward. First, consumers respond best to take-back programs when standards are uniform to allow for clear and consistent messaging about how the program works. Therefore, we'd ask that the bill focus only on small and medium format batteries. Large format batteries are not the ones that end up in bins and pose safety issues, and the inclusion of large format batteries is the reason the bill, on page 25, section 7, imposes limits on how many batteries someone can bring to a drop-off site. As we heard, we want this to be as convenient as possible for consumers, and we think this limitation runs counter to that goal. Secondly, we would also like language to be added to section 9 on page 28 to ensure that those in the solid waste industry who will still end up receiving improperly disposed batteries, despite our best efforts here, we want them to be shielded from violations. It's easy to spot and remove a car battery on the tip floor. The same can't be said of a battery the size of a quarter. We have some suggestions we have shared with the MPCA and hope some version of them can be incorporated so disposal and recycling facilities aren't in violation of the law due to the actions of others who throw these batteries in their garbage and recycling bins. And with that, again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify and share our support for getting batteries out of the waste stream and make some suggestions for improving the bill so it is as successful as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think I probably skipped Mr. Schmidt. Yeah, you're up there. You're up there all along. It's like a flip from Mr. Kadelka to you, and I can. Sorry. So, go ahead, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Steve Schmidt. I'm a Meeker County Commissioner, and I also serve as Secretary Treasurer for the Association of Minnesota Counties. Counties have a statutory responsibility to manage solid waste, protect public health, and ensure public safety. Batteries are increasingly complicating those responsibilities. Fires at recycling facilities and transfer stations are no longer rare. They're happening regularly. In some areas, fires occurring once or twice a month have forced changes to collection programs. These are not small incidences. In Kupec County, a waste facility fire caused $500,000 in losses. In Rice County, a fire burned for a week, releasing toxic smoke and forcing residents indoors. These risks extend beyond facilities. Last year, a video from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety showed the everyday risks, including a Woodbury family that lost their entire home to a lithium-ion battery fire. These incidents put workers at risk, threaten public safety, and cause significant environmental harm. At the same time, batteries contain valuable materials like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and that can be recovered and reused. Without better collection systems, too much of this value is lost in the waste stream. In Meeker County, we partner with Candy Ojai and McLeod counties on household hazardous waste services. Together, they've collected over 3,000 pounds of rechargeable batteries currently covered under the current law, and nearly 6,000 additional pounds of batteries that would be covered under this updated proposal. Our current law has not kept pace with the modern battery technology. Counties are managing a growing problem without the tools needed to do it safely and effectively. The costs are significant. Some counties spend tens of thousands of dollars annually, and Hennepin County alone has spent over $300,000 per year on battery management. Counties have worked with the industry and recyclers and the state to develop a better approach. The language in front of you today reflects meaningful progress and has narrowed disagreements. AMC is committed to continuing to work with all of those stakeholders. We recognize the complexity of the issue, and we appreciate the committee's consideration. From a county perspective, this is a problem we are already managing every day, and this proposal represents a step forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Now we're going to go online to Ms. Seward.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Just fine.
Great, okay. Chair and members of the Environment, Climate, and Legacy Committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Ashley Seward, and I'm testifying on behalf of Redwood Materials. We support the goal of SF 1690 to improve battery safety and appreciate the stakeholder work that has taken place thus far. However, we must oppose the bill as written because its current operational requirements make it economically irrational for more than one battery stewardship organization to form. In practice, this creates a de facto monopoly over battery collection, reducing competition, limiting innovation, and ultimately resulting in fewer batteries collected, the opposite goal of this bill. Redwood Materials serves multiple roles under battery stewardship laws such as this one. We recycle the batteries that are collected. We operate as a battery stewardship organization in partnership with producers, and we also assist producers who are seeking to self-represent as their own battery stewardship organization under a law like this. To ensure Minnesota creates a best-in-class battery EPR framework, one that encourages competition and innovation, we respectfully ask that this bill be amended in two ways. First, battery stewardship organizations must be allowed to collectively satisfy statewide convenience standards, and the number of collection sites that are assigned to each battery stewardship organization should be based off of market share. Currently, as written, the bill requires every battery stewardship organization to set up the same number of collection sites, regardless of the number of producers that it represents. Secondly, the state administrative fees must be assigned also based off of market share, as opposed to equal fees across all battery stewardship organizations, as the bill currently requires. Equal responsibility is not the same as equitable responsibility. A stewardship organization representing 3 producers or a single producer representing itself should not be expected to meet the same requirements as an organization representing 50 producers. This type of structure is what forces producers to join a single stewardship organization and thus create a battery monopoly. With these amendments, we believe SF 1690 will achieve higher battery collection rates and improve safety outcomes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Seward. All right, this complete our testimonies, our presentation. Any question from members? Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Kupec, I know that I almost hate to ask questions because I think they're the same questions I asked before, but apparently they're not answered yet. And, you know, the last testifier did a really good job of kind of summarizing some of my concerns. But the first place I'll go is, I know that in your bill I read that there's the ability to work with other states in this, which is going to be imperative if it's going to work. Do you know of any other states that are actually doing this that this is going to work with? Because if you don't, like in the Moorhead area, for instance, if the batteries are 10, 20% more than they are in Fargo, nobody in Moorhead's going to sell a battery.
Senator Kupec.
Sure. Thank you for that. In other states that have put in a stewardship program, there has been we've not seen a cost rise in batteries in those places because it is so spread out that the cost is so minimal. They're probably just taking it, but we've not seen the cost of batteries go up in those places.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Green.
And in those other states, did you notice, or did they notice a huge drop in the amount of batteries that are in the waste facilities? And I don't know this, I'm asking because it's hard for me to imagine that someone takes the batteries out of a video game, for instance, and they put them in a bucket and say, boy, I'll get these down to the recycling center, and instead of just tossing them in the garbage.
Senator Kupec.
Thank you. Well, you haven't been to my house then, because that's, I do. And I think it obviously, you know, part of this program is making people more aware that that is not a good thing to do, particularly tossing them in the garbage. Your regular alkaline batteries, sure, but these lithium batteries you should not put in. So obviously part of the program is educating and awareness and making those drop-off sites more available. That's part of the problem, is that it's very difficult in some locations to find a drop-off site to do. So if we can increase that and increase awareness, then you should see more people going, yes, I will do that.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Green.
then also talking about the drop-off sites, there's a multitude of them that's going to be going in if this bill moves forward. How does that compare to other states? Because I'm thinking if you're going to start charging the producers for all those sites, along with all the other stipulations in the bill, I find it hard to believe that the battery price increase is going to be that insignificant.
Senator Kupec.
Sure. I think it's expanding it to, you know, some counties where it's not even available, to have that availability at whatever they're doing for a drop-off site. And I'm not sure what the other states did in terms of the drop-off sites, and maybe I can call on one of the other testifiers who would have that information. I do not know whether we saw an increase in that or not.
Yeah. And Mr. Chair, and I know it sounds like I'm beating up on you, and I do know this is a problem. I just don't know if the bill is going to cure the problem, and yet we're going to be putting an awful lot of money into it. And I don't even think I have to call the MPCA back up. If they want to come up, they can. But you know, they're looking at a zero impact because they're going to charge the producers for all their costs. But in this bill, if I read it right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like there's going to be 2 times a year where they're going to be able to reevaluate and raise those costs for the producer. And also there's civil action in here where they'll be able to sue to raise the price again at different times during the year should they run into an unexpected expense. And so I don't know how the MPCA is coming up with their numbers, but I don't know how you're ever going to get to a number even to start out with unless you know all these costs incurred because it's not just the drop-off sites, it's the facilities and all the regulations that go with that. I mean, this is a massive bill for only being, 30-some pages long. There's a lot in here that we don't know.
Senator Kupec or Mr. Kodeka.
Sure. Well, I'll start. So first of all, you know, we are incurring these costs already, and it's the counties that are bearing this cost, and it's the taxpayers of those counties and their property taxes that are bearing the cost. So really what we're looking to do here is shift those costs to the producers and not levy it upon the counties to also have to collect this and then transport it. And so I know, I got my phone zipped out, but we know in 2022, we had 290,000 pounds of batteries collected within the state of Minnesota. So we have data about what we are collecting already. So that would be a starting point to go with. And then the group does include the producers who come together to set what the prices are. So it's not that they're not going to have a seat at the table when they're coming up with whatever they figure the rate will be to charge these people. So they're included in this. We want them to be included in this. We don't want to just arbitrarily, thrust this upon them. So they're part of the solution in this.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kupec. Mr. Kodaka, any add-on to the questions that Senator Green asked?
Mr. Chair and committee members, for the record, again, my name is Kirk Adelko, Assistant Commissioner with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. We are familiar with these type of programs. We have paint care, boat wrap, and other types of programs where we've done this. The cost the agency is recovering is only our cost for the oversight of the work. The cost of actual collection, proper management, recycling of the batteries would not be incurred by the agency or the counties. Those would be incurred by the actual entities themselves. And so that financing doesn't go through it. You had mentioned the private right of action. That is not an avenue for the agency. Rather, that is an avenue for the product stewardship organization. For instance, if there are 2 or 3 battery companies who are not participating in here and covering their fair share of their cost, as mentioned by the author, this allows the product stewardship organization to seek those costs from them, allowing them to take this in a private-to-private interaction versus bringing in the state into the action, reducing the cost for the state.
Sure.
Senator Green?
Thank you for that, but how does that work out of state? So if, let's say, for instance, the battery producer says, we're not doing that, and we're just not going to sell batteries in Minnesota anymore, that would be their only option. And how do you go across the state lines and not violate maybe interstate commerce when something is legal in another state and not here?
Mr. Kodaka.
So Chair and committee members, thank you for the question, Senator. The entities themselves would collect the fees for the producers. To be able to sell in Minnesota, like you said, would require them to be part of the organization and carry out their duties. The ability for the operations, that includes folks that are operating outside of Minnesota, selling into Minnesota, and that's how the agency would work through the compliance efforts. The product stewardship also gets to do their own compliance work through this effort and have those conversations with the national brands. For batteries already, there is the battery network that is already established doing some of this work in Minnesota, covering the small batteries, but as mentioned earlier, not covering any of the costs for the county. So there are those agreements already that are in place with those producers, whether in Minnesota or that, to help cover those costs. So this would just be building on an existing structure that is already working.
Okay. Just probably one more question. I don't want to beat it to death here, but I still have a problem with the amount of money that this is going to cost, because the amount of collection sites that you're talking here, and I believe it's the proper term is the collection sites, in our area, for instance. You might get a collection site that gets a handful of batteries a month, and yet the cost is there to maintain that, and the workload for that as well, and that all comes out of this. And then the agency's ability to raise the fees, I assume by rule, or maybe it's not even a rule, because it looks like it can go through pretty fast, just pretty much by decree. I have a lot of problems with that. And so one last question, have you taken into account the 2 testifiers that had concerns with the bill, or are you satisfied that the bill is where you want it to move forward?
To testify. Who would that be, Senator Green?
Go ahead, you start.
Okay.
Mr.
Mr. Kodaka.
Mr. Chair and committee members, thank you for the question. There's a number of us working together on this. We're having conversations with various groups to learn more about their concerns and what are the underlying issues with them, to see if they can be addressed. Some of them may be able to be addressed and some may not. I think we're still working through that process.
Thank you, Senator Ann Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Kupec, hats off. I love this bill. I'm so mad that there's no room on it anymore, but thank you for persevering and bringing it forth again. What happens to the batteries once they get collected? I assume there's some value in the materials, or do they just become garbage, but special garbage? What happens to them?
Senator Kupec.
Sure. I know that, whatever the valuable parts are extracted and resold. There are far more knowledgeable people here that work in this industry that can tell you exactly where the batteries go and what they become, if you want to call them up.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah. Yes, Senator Ann Johnson Stewart.
I don't want to put her on the spot, but I know Maria Jensen is in the audience. Maria, do you know anything about that? I know you know a lot about e-waste, but I'm wondering if batteries specifically have any value? Mr. Chair.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Maria Jensen. For the record, I'm here with Clean Water Action and Recycling Electronics for Climate Action. We are a business association for electronics recyclers here in Minnesota. So if this program was implemented and a PRO or a product responsibility organization would be established, and in Minnesota, we already have an organization like this that's operating and collecting batteries across the state. This bill would just provide an EPR background so that they can charge producers for some of the harder to reach areas around the state. It creates a lot of efficiencies by creating kind of a milk run system. They drop off drums at the collection sites that are already registered across the state. In areas that are further out and have fewer batteries, they'll do fewer milk runs and provide smaller containers so they can kind of account for that. The PRO, in the case of loose batteries, actually takes possession of the batteries. So they're able to sell the positive value batteries to cut costs to the program, that directly saves money to the producers, which I would believe is why this is the basic model that you see in most battery producer industry model bills.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
So, Ms. Jensen, just to confirm, there is value in the batteries? I mean, I assume there is, but and I heard you say PRO, I don't know what that means, but there's already an organizational process by which these batteries are taken apart and the stuff is already, so this structure exists, this is just adding to the stream?
Ms. Jensen.
Yes, Chair. It'll create, yes, there are collection sites already established across Minnesota, and as was mentioned earlier, the Battery Network is an example of a PRO or a product responsibility organization that runs programs such as these, and they have a presence in Minnesota. They're already collecting some batteries. This program would expand the collection sites and expand the education opportunities for Minnesota residents, and the PRO takes possession of the batteries and does sell the positive value batteries. Some batteries have a negative value, others have a positive value. So the positive value batteries are actually, that value is able to be reincorporated and cut costs to the program.
Okay, just one thing.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
I just want to go on record as saying that for my entire adult life, I have had a bucket of batteries in my garage because I don't know how I knew it, but I knew batteries aren't supposed to go in the garbage. And so we usually take ours to Home Depot or Lowe's. So that informed my question because I had an assumption that somebody was collecting these batteries, but I never really thought about where they were going. And my collection was based more on environmental impacts. I really had no idea. So I appreciate your efforts. And Senator Kupec, really appreciate you pushing forward on this. I will be cheering you on and hope this goes through this year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Senator Ann Johnson Stewart, I see hands from Ms. Seward online. I think she might have additional information for you as well, but we'll see what she had to say.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I'm not sure if that is normal practice, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to answer. I just wanted to speak to that last question as a battery recycler in this space. We purchase the batteries that are often collected by battery stewardship organizations, and we are a market response to the collection of these batteries because of their value. And that is why we're advocating for allowing multiple battery stewardship organizations to operate in Minnesota and do so in an equitable and collective manner. But yes, we purchase these batteries, the ones that we do not collect ourselves. But the issue to date across states that have implemented, there's only been a handful that's implemented, but the states that have passed these laws, is that there isn't a lot of financial transparency in the reports of that revenue that is brought forth from the sale later in those batteries. So the producers we've spoken to, there's no clarity that they are getting a decreased cost due to that sale. And that's because of that lack of financial transparency. So just wanted to note that that is one issue that we're seeing in these types of builds.
All right, thank you. Now, back to Senator Kupec. Any last remark on this bill before we lay over?
No, other than to thank the committee. Thank you for the questions. You know, I know this has been, you know, for our counties, this is a cost, and the fire danger is high, and in the end, there'll be a tremendous savings on for our counties just in if we can reduce what they have to pay even in fire insurance for these plants, or thermal event insurance. Sorry if I jinxed you by saying fire on that. But I thank you for your support of this bill too, Mr. Chair. You've been a great supporter, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for taking this on a long haul. You know, it go around, and I think you started last session already, and now we're here. You know, so thank you for taking the heavy burden on chief author of this bill. Member Senate File 1690 will be lay over. Okay, this is it in today's business. There will be 2 more hearings left, and so keep an eye on your email or on our Senate posting of what's coming up on our Tuesday agenda.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Senator Green?
We got 2 more hearings left, and that's good, at least 2, but I know we haven't gotten the policy bill for the DNR or the supplemental budget for that or the MPCA, and we just heard those today. Could you let us know maybe when they might be coming?
Likely will compose some item that would be taken from the layover bill. In terms of the policy bill, it's ended when we can get the hearing for that, so the deadlines are repassed. So we're just working on bill with finance, our fiscal note intact. So we'll put a package together. You know, you can consider as a mini omnibus bill without no finance target that we send over to finance, and we'll take a couple of the project from that was laid over since we have heard. So that's what we plan to do next week.
Okay.
Senator Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I know where you're coming from with the other body doing what the other body's doing, but I wouldn't mind forcing them to do a policy bill. Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard everything that would be coming, right? So
yes.
Okay. Just check it. I'll be on your side on that one if you want to push it.
Sounds good. Good to have someone on my side. And with that, meeting's adjourned.